Look at this woman, this child, this temptress, this angel. A child torn. You can't take your eyes off her. You can't ignore her. You feel you've met her before. You've known her or wished to God you had. This woman is on fire, and the fire even has a name, Typhoid. Hello, welcome to Cosplay My Way. I'm ElecTrish, and today I am dressed as Typhoid Mary. Some of us have very distinctive characteristics of our personalities that make us who we are. How we act, how we look, and how we live. But what if you had multiple personalities living inside of you? Let's talk about a character with three very distinct and very different personalities that make her who and what she is. One of the most interesting and underrated villains in Marvel Comics, Typhoid Mary. She possesses dissociative identity disorder and has three very different personalities. Her Mary personality is a timid, quiet pacifist, while her Typhoid personality is adventurous and lustful and very violent. And the Bloody Mary persona is brutal, sadistic, and she hates men. Typhoid Mary's powers range from pyrokinesis, telekinesis, and even short-term mind control. So now let's talk about the history of Typhoid Mary in Marvel Comics. Her first appearance was in Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, number 254. So when you open this comic book, the first thing that you see on the first page is Typhoid Mary jumping out of the page into the air. And she's got her swords drawn, her crazy look in her eyes, and you're wondering, what the hell is this character all about? So then we see her, and she runs into a thug in the alley, attacks him, and she gives him her fever kiss.
What's your game?
What's a killer bruiser like you fooling with chicken slop muggings when you live in a city where money flows like water and anyone with half a gut can take a bath in it? Huh, killer?
You talk my language, witch, but you gotta know who's on top here.
Let's find out.
Your skin's hot.
I've got a fever.
Ugh.
So Typhoid's kiss surrenders anyone helpless when she has them. Even Daredevil has an issue, but we'll get to that later. So Matt Murdock is working on a case of a boy named Tyrone who became blinded by chemicals in the water supply. Matt feels very close to this case because it happened in his own hometown where he grew up. And the owner of the chemical company is no other person than Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Wilson Fisk discovers Typhoid Mary via her patient files and considers her the perfect person to hire for Daredevil's killer. He offers her $1 million bounty for Daredevil's life, and he wants her to basically seduce and destroy him, which is what she sets out to do. So we're mutually impressed with each other. We could form a club, or we could talk.
$1 million hits.
You can get the best assassin in town for $10,000. Why the million? Why me?
Can you make a man fall in love with you?
Child's play.
That's what the million's for. Even I recognize that love costs. Matt Murdock, Daredevil, one and the same man. Make him love you like he can't live without you. Then rip his heart out and leave him alive and bleeding.
He's handsome. I'll take your $1 million. But a job like this, it's got its own juice. I would have done it for free. So, in this issue, which is 255, Daredevil and Typhoid Mary meet for the very first time. And as you can see, things get hot and heavy. I love this cover. Even though the cover has that steamy image, we see that Matt is living with Karen Page, who he also works with, and they're in a relationship. And she's one of the few people that knows his true identity as Matt Murdock and also his secret identity as Daredevil. After having accepted the $1 million bond of the Kingpin, Typhoid Mary is now Mary, and she attracts Matt to her by using her short-term mind control abilities. Then she wins him over with her personality and charm, and even assists in Tyrone's mentoring and guidance. So Matt is clearly, undeniably attracted to Mary, and he ignores Tyrone while Tyrone is fumbling through the kitchen trying to find things, asking where they are. He even ignores the phone ringing and the message from Karen, which is playing on his answering machine, because he's so busy making out with Mary. I wish you were there, honey. I just called to tell you I miss you, and to tell you how sexy you look this morning. And you'll win that case. I have faith in you.
Hey, that's Karen on the phone. Matt, why don't you answer? Where are you guys? Mary?
Oh, if you hear this later and I'm late, I made your dinner, so look in the fridge.
Matt? Where'd you guys go?
See you later, big man. I love you.
Answer me! What are you guys doing?
Later, Typhoid Mary meets Daredevil for the first time, and they're fighting, but she's able to throw him off because her scent and heartbeat is completely different than Mary's. And unlike Mary, he's completely disgusted by Typhoid Mary as Daredevil. So Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson have separated from the same law firm, and now they're both on the same case, which is the case of the chemicals that blinded Tyrone and other children. So Matt realizes that Foggy Nelson is now hired by the company Kelco Industrials, owned by Wilson Fisk, which makes Wilson Fisk Foggy's boss. In this issue, we see a really interesting scene where Mary is transitioning into Typhoid Mary. And we also see the pull that both Matt Murdock and Daredevil have on Mary and Typhoid Mary. Mary is in love with Matt, and Typhoid wants to kill Daredevil, but she is intrigued by him as well. So later, Typhoid goes to buy out one of the jurors on the Kelco case, and then reports back to Wilson Fisk. When she goes back to see Wilson Fisk, we see him get very possessive over her when we see her with her boyfriend.
You're crazy.
Don't worry, Rip darling. I'm only teasing. I'm going all the way. For the cash. Besides, you're my main man.
Get your hands off of her. What the heck's going on here? Is he your new boyfriend or something?
Why'd you do that, sir? You don't know? Well, baby, I do.
So later, Typhoid attacks Daredevil, and he goes into the sewer to try to figure out some of her weaknesses. And Mary actually protects Daredevil from Typhoid while they're fighting because she's in love with him, and then he realizes that there's more than one persona to Mary. Daredevil makes a pit stop to the juror's apartment, who was offered bailout money, but we don't really know what the conversation entailed. So the next day, we see Matt Murdock get into the same elevator with Wilson Fisk on their way to court.
Do it, Murdock. Come on. Lose control. Do it.
So the defendant is found guilty, and the juror who's on the case is thankful in her own mind to Daredevil for helping her make the right decision.
We find Kelco guilty and liable to pay Tyrone Jensen full compensation for medical damages, all future earnings, punitive damages. Look at Tyrone's smile. Thanks, Daredevil, for helping me do the right thing.
You beat me, Murdock. Good. Keep beating me. Because the bigger my anger, my rage at you,
the worse my revenge will be.
So, in issue 259, Typhoid is realizing that Mary is taking more control and fighting for the attention of Matt Murdock. And Typhoid says, if she can't have that man, no one will. Then Matt realizes what he has with Karen is very special, and he needs to really focus more on his own relationship than all the distractions that Mary and Typhoid have given him.
You really fly.
Yep, keep your feet up.
The Kingpin is continuing to try to take control of Typhoid, but Typhoid Mary cannot be controlled. In this issue, 260, Typhoid is clearly in love with Daredevil, and we see that she's feeling weak about it. She goes and she tells her goons that they can beat the living shit out of him, but to leave the last of his life for her to take. The Kingpin specifically told her not to take Daredevil's life, but instead she goes and pushes him off of a bridge, all the while she's emotional and crying, but she had to be the one to take Daredevil's life. In the end, she wanted that control. In this issue, 262, Black Widow is in Hell's Kitchen to protect Karen Page while Daredevil is still missing. We then see Daredevil at the bottom of the bridge that he was thrown from, and he is basically in and out of consciousness. He has a vision of Stick telling him to fight for his life instead of giving up and dying. We then see Mary walking to the bridge, conflicted with all of the personas living inside of her, and she feels guilty, so she wants to kill herself. And when she's about to jump from the bridge, she looks down to see Daredevil at the bottom. Mary then gives in to Typhoid and goes to Daredevil and reveals to him who she is, that she is Mary and also Typhoid Mary.
Who?
Darling, it's your sweet, loving, innocent Mary.
Mary, what's that?
Don't worry your pretty head, baby. Mary will take care of you. Your sweet, darling Mary. Only this time, she forgot to wash the blood off her hands.
Mary?
Yes, Mary. Typhoid Mary. You dig, baby? You know what comes next?
In issue 263, there's a lot of craziness going on with Inferno. But while this is going on, Matt Murdock is in the hospital, finally waking up. And Mary Walker and Karen Page are right outside the door. They've been discussing who they are between each other before Matt wakes up. So Karen tells Mary who she is, that they've been living together, and Mary says that Matt is in love with her. So there's all this drama going on. When Matt wakes up, who does he call out for? Mary.
No! Matt! Tell me these are lies! Tell me! Stop! You'll kill him!
Mary.
I'm here, Matt. I'm right here.
Later, we see Typhoid Mary with the Kingpin, but she's in her Bloody Mary persona, and she has this crazy looking outfit on, and she's telling him how much she loved killing Daredevil, thinking that Daredevil is dead. So the next key issue, which is more or less a finale to the Typhoid saga in Daredevil, is the termination of Typhoid in 297. In this issue, we see Typhoid realizing that she has less control over the Kingpin because he is still thinking about Vanessa, his true love. So Matt Murdock and Karen Page are still friends, and they remain in contact and even meet up with each other occasionally. But she keeps a safe distance from him romantically. Daredevil lures Typhoid into a fight, and as they're fighting, he then pulls her in, and in a passionate embrace, he kisses her.
I can still turn back.
Daredevil, what are you?
The rain driving like fire.
No! You can't.
Can't what? Be the pursuer instead of the unwilling partner?
Yes, that's it. You can't.
Why not? This just makes it easier, doesn't it?
No, yes, I don't know.
We both know I've fought off what you do to me for too long. No more. No more.
So then he takes her to a hotel with him, and then they make love, and the following morning she wakes up only to find that he's left her there alone with admission papers for a psychiatric evaluation. So yeah, he hid it and then he had it committed. Can you believe that?
Alright, I hope you enjoyed that bad joke and the story of Typhoid Mary in Daredevil, the Man Without Fear comics. So, the version I've been wearing is from this one, Daredevil, Marvel Knights, and I'm going to show you right now the transformation of me becoming the original version of Typhoid Mary. Feels good to fluff out my hair, get that makeup off. Hot in here. Sweating. Do I have a fever? Feel sick. Do I look sick? Oh, my hair, my face. I don't look like myself. I look wild. It's you. It's that woman. Oh God, no. Have to warn myself. Help. Someone inside does bad things. Mary, help. Shut up, you sniveling twit. Get back in there and shut up. Typhoid's back on top. Okay, so I'm starting by hydrating my eyes with Hydrating Eye Cream. And I'm going to hydrate my face using Hydrating Face Cream. Both of these products are by Bobbi Brown. So I'm putting the eye cream under my eye area and the face cream all over my face. Now I'm going to be using two products for my face. One is a white makeup, which I'm going to be applying to one side of my face. The other is my regular foundation color, which will go on the other side. And now I'm applying a straight line right down the center of my face to put the white side on first and then separate it from the other side. So I'm just going in and filling out every corner of my one side of my face with the white makeup, making sure that it is whiter than the other because I am quite pale. I want to make sure I do at least 2 coats of this so it looks different in contrast. Okay, so once the white side's done, I'm going on to the opposite side using the regular foundation color. And I'm applying that all over the opposite side of my face, being very careful for the center part, not to mix it with the whiter part of the opposite side. Now I'm going to go into an eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to go into the black eyeshadow to do my brows. So I'm just filling in both sides of my brows. Now I'm going to go into another eyeshadow palette for some eyeshadow for the lid, going over the lid on both sides with that. Then I go into another color and I fill in the crease of my eyes. So I'm going into the crease on both sides with that same shadow color. So now I'm using the same shadow that I used in the crease and going underneath my eye area on both sides. So now I'm taking a black liquid eyeliner and I'm going to line my eyes on the top and the bottom of both sides. So now I'm going in with a black mascara and I'm just applying that to the top and bottom lash lines on both sides of my eyes. Now I'm going to be applying a matte red lipstick and just filling out and defining my lips on the bottom and then on the top. I have a nice red lip. Now my makeup's done and I'm going to do a little happy dance and it's time for the wig. So here's the wig. I put it on. It is kind of crazy, so I'm just kind of like brushing it down to make it kind of fit my face. And there you have it. I have become the crazy amazing Typhoid Mary. So now I'll show you how I made the costume parts. So this is some EVA foam that I picked up, which I'm cutting shapes out of to make the shoulder parts. And I'm just creating the shape based on what I saw in comic books. Then I'm going to go outside and take some silver spray paint and then spray paint both of the pieces that I had glued together. Once that's drying, I'm going to work on the top, which I am using Liquid Stitch, which is a fabric adhesive, to close up the back of a yoga top so that the back will now become the front of my costume top. Then I'm going to cut off the sleeve because hers only has one sleeve. And I'm just taking that off and then putting the dried pieces of the foam on the shoulders. And after that, she is complete.
Alright, thank you for watching Cosplay My Way and discovering Typhoid Mary. I'm ElecTrish, and I'll see you in the next video. If you have any suggestions for the next cosplay you want to see me do, drop it into the comments. See you later.